Despite me being very excited about Dragon Age the Veilguard, and I think offering a lot of balance between what is good and bad leading up to the release of the game, we unfortunately do have some pretty bad news, at least in my opinion, and something that definitely worries me a bit, and I think shows that for the first time, Bioware is even a little bit worried about this release, but we will get into that. And before we do, thank you guys so much for almost 500 subscribers. My goal at the start of this week, to put this in perspective, was 400, so you guys have been crushing it. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support. If you like gaming news and like gaming reviews, specifically with RPG and action adventure type of games, and you like what you see here, please subscribe. It helps me out a lot. Now let's get directly into the content. So as you guys may have known, there were leaks that came out that said Bioware was sending out review copies all the way back to Monday earlier this week, and that reviews were potentially going to be going live on the 28th, or at least that's when the embargo was going to be dropped. And with this, I assumed that everybody, at least the people that went to the pre-release events that played the game uninterrupted for 6 to 7 hours, were going to be getting one of these review copies. But unfortunately, that's not the case at all. Apparently, the review copies are very limited and are only getting sent out to people like Paul Tassi at Forbes or other gaming journalist sites that tend to rate games at the very minimum like a 7 unless it's a complete blunder, and they'll still probably give it a 5 or a 6. And before I get into my take on why this is a very bad idea and why I'm kind of left scratching my head about why they would do this in the first place, let's listen to someone who actually went to the pre-release event and what it's been like trying to get a review code.
I will not be reviewing Dragon Age the Veilguard at launch. I will not. You can't make me, mainly because I don't have the game. Now, we have been, full transparency, we have been hounding them about it because they've been very coy about it. For like 2-3 weeks, we've been sending regular emails, regular Twitter DMs to people we're in contact with. Like, we have been hounding them, me and my management team, to get review codes for it, even just one. And they've been mostly ghosting us until very recently, when it became clear they were like, nope, we don't have review codes for you, which was weird. Because I was like, I'm talking to people behind the scenes, some of whom have gotten review codes, others that have not. And it seems like review codes are super limited. What I've said, and I said at the top of the stream, I was talking to somebody who is in Europe, and I'll keep it vague for their privacy, but I was talking to them and they said that there were like 3 or 4 review codes that went out for their entire country. I've seen a couple, there's people that are saying that some various YouTubers and creators got review codes. Awesome. But it does seem like it's a very limited group. Even those who went to their preview event are not getting review codes. Okay. Paul Tassi from Forbes said he got a review code. That doesn't shock me because Forbes is freaking Forbes. And that seems to be the common thread here, is if you work for a big review site like an IGN, Forbes, VGC, those places, they all got codes. It seems like individual creators, it's much more rare.
Follow Luke Stevens, incredible creator, but what does this mean and why does this worry me, and why do I now think that Bioware is a little bit worried going into the release of this game? Because a lot of the different YouTubers that were a little bit critical about the game, or even YouTubers that were positive, really positive about it, like Luke Stevens or Mr. Matty Plays, don't seem to be getting review codes. I know people like Mortismal, I believe, got a review code, but someone like Wolfheart FPS, who was a little bit more critical, is not getting one. So now Bioware runs into 2 big issues, and the first big issue is on the journalist side of things. If the IGN or Forbes, for example, give this game a 7 or an 8, people are automatically going to think this game is not good or very mediocre, because these scores for a Forbes and an IGN have been given to bad games or pretty plain piss poor video games for the most part. Now, if they give it a 9 or a 10, people are going to think it's biased and that it's fake and that they just want more review copies going into the future. Both of those are very bad on the journalist side of things. Now, shifting over to the content creator side, not giving review codes to someone who tends to be more fair and balanced of their critiques like Luke Stevens or Wolfheart FPS, who were also at your preview event already, not giving them a review code creates a perception amongst the audience that you are worried about what these more non-biased creators are going to say about your game. Because I really think the gaming community as a whole trusts these creators a lot more than gaming journalist sites. And on top of this, if they give a good review of the game, we all trust that this game is a pretty damn good game. But I think the worry that they're going to give a bad review shows a pretty big lack of confidence in Bioware, despite all of the confidence that they have shown, like giving these same exact creators 7 hours of uninterrupted gameplay before the release. This is a huge bummer because I think overall Bioware has done a good job getting into the good graces of their consumers leading up to this release. I've mentioned it before, I'll mention it really quickly again. Dropping it to $60, having no de novo or third-party DRM in your game, not putting all this bullshit pre-orders or early access onto your game. All of this, plus the 6 to 7 hours, like I mentioned, for all those creators to play uninterrupted, showed how much confidence they had. And then they do this, and the whole perception immediately changes. The perception is now that you're only giving it to people that are going to give it a good review, and not people that are going to have a more fair and balanced take or critique on your video game. And now you're never going to get or you might get very little trusting YouTubers and trusting content creators with audiences that really trust them to say whether a game is good or bad. You're not going to get any of those people saying that your game is good. So now people just gonna think you're not sending it to them because you know that they're gonna say your game is bad. The only people that are gonna be reviewing this game for the most part are now gaming journalist sites that people don't have confidence in, people don't trust, that have genuinely been very biased and have, for the most part, are just putting out reviews that are relatively good so they stay in the good graces of these companies that they're reviewing and the games that they're reviewing so they can get more review codes and they can still keep making articles about video games and keep their baseline and profits in check. Now, that's not to say no content creators are getting it. Someone like Mortismal, for example, I believe, who does a very good job critiquing and reviewing video games. I do trust his opinions a lot of the time on games, not that I always agree with it, but he is getting a review code for Dragon Age the Veilguard, like I mentioned, I believe. And on top of this, it's also not to say IGN or Forbes and these other gaming journalist sites never release good reviews or legitimate reviews. It's just hard to look at those reviews and say that they're legitimate when they've done, in my opinion, a lot of illegitimate reviews in the past. Now, with all that being said, I will still be giving my review. I will still give a fair and balanced take on this game, whether I'm excited for it or not. I'm not going to show bias in my review. I'll let you guys know straight up if I think it's a good game or I think it's a bad game, and if I think you guys should buy and play this game. Now, I'm not getting a review code. If someone like Luke Stevens isn't, I'm not getting one, so it's going to be definitely a couple days after the game comes out and I play through the game in full. But aside from that, thank you guys for watching the video. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys are still excited for the game like I am, but there's definitely some worries here now, a little bit more than I had previously. Overall, just comment down below what you guys think about all of this, if you guys think this is a good or bad decision from Bioware and why. Like the video if you like the video, and subscribe for more content like this. I really appreciate you guys. See you in the next one. Peace!